I have with me Alessandra Echeverri, owner of Typecase Industries here in Washington, D.C. Alessandra and I went to school together at the Corcoran College of Art and Design, which is also in D.C. I thought I would have her on today so that we could talk about going from being a student to a business owner. So welcome, Alessandra.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Could you tell us a little bit about Typecase Industries?
Yes. So Typecase Industries was founded, 7 years ago, 2012, 1 year after I finished my master's at the Corcoran, with a fellow Corcoran grad and another friend that was a designer. Mm-hmm. We're fresh out of art school, as I'm sure many art students feel, didn't have anywhere to make work, didn't really know what was next necessarily beyond the fact that we just wanted to keep making work. So we started the studio as a place to do that. That was the original idea. And then it kind of snowballed into a small business once we started getting clients to pay us to make stuff since we needed to pay rent. So we inadvertently started a small business that is still going today because of the need that it fulfilled.
Wow. So when you first started the business, it was just basically, hey, we want a place to do our thing.
Yes.
And then people saw it and they're like, oh God, that's really cool. I want to give you money now to do this thing that you're doing.
Kind of.
Yeah, kind of.
We were all working other jobs, which we did for the first 3 years of the business. And our clientele base at that point were our friends or other people we worked with, who we would show the stuff we were making, which was at that time just for ourselves. And then we started making things like wedding invitations, more client-based work. And that's like where it really started to pick up because there is no other full-service design and print shop in DC for Letterpress.
Oh,
Still,
wow.
Yeah.
So could you describe the Letterpress process?
Yes. Letterpress historically is movable type. So individually cast and set letters to spell out words, books, phrases, everything like that. More recently, it's moved into the fine art world. So we can use it to print images, to print work, to do broadsides, make books, anything like that. And the letterpress printing process is a relief printing process. So the ink is applied to the surface, and then the surface and the paper are brought together to make the impression and to make the print. We set the rollers specifically so they only touch the top surface. And then at the same time that it's getting inked, it's running through the machine over the cylinder. The paper is, at that moment, it's in the machine. It rolls over the inked form and then comes up the other side. It's literally pressing the letters into the paper.
So for your studio, you've done some custom-made books. What other projects do you work on here?
Mostly client-based work like invitations. Invitations are huge. It's always been the bread and butter here. Like I mentioned, we're the only studio that does that here in DC. That and other kinds of cards, gift sets, stationery, posters, postcards, basically paper products.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
And then I'll do design for people to use on marketing materials or anything like digital files that they can have.
And out of all the projects you've worked on, and I know you've had like 400 invitations and each invitation is different and it's a unique design. Out of all of those, which ones stand out to you?
I can remember, let's say, 3 really special projects, or really cool projects, I should say. I love all my projects equally. We had a friend that owns like a lot of restaurants. He's a pretty big like chef in DC. And we did his wedding invitations. That's how we met him.
Oh, cool.
So a lot of things have happened like that. And so he asked us to make a menu for one of his events.
Oh, nice.
It was really cool, except it was the next day or something like that, of course. So I had to hand letter it.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah, and so that was the first on the fly, like hand letter this design that we made into a plate that we then printed, and then they were also like masks. So that was really cool.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So that was probably maybe one of the first like really different things like we made, and it was just so on the fly and really kind of proved to us, like, oh yeah, we can do this. You know, like we know what we're doing. We can do it.
It just pushed you out of your comfort zone a little bit, but
in a great way. And afterwards, you're like, that's really cool. Mm-hmm. You know, wedding invitation I did, that was really amazing. I had very little design in it. That is how much I loved it. Not because of that.
Right.
I still loved it, even though I had very small hand in it. Bride brought her grandmother's handwriting. Had her grandmother write out the invitation. And we scanned it, and we made a plate out of that. And that's what we used to print the invitation. And I didn't have any design in that. You know, I did the printing for it. But it's so beautiful.
And you brought it to life, though. You brought something really special and memorable to that bride.
Yeah.
For her day, and something she's never going to forget.
Yeah. And I made the other accompanying pieces, like the RSVP cards, and I did the design for those.
Right.
And there was like a crest she wanted. And all together, it was just so, like, perfectly what she wanted and just so memorable. Yeah. Probably the most memorable thing is making something for Michelle Obama.
Oh, cool.
And getting to meet her.
Yeah. That is so cool.
Yeah, contacted by somebody asking if we made custom books.
Right.
If we could make custom books in a specific time frame. Like, yes. It was very vague. And I said, yes, you know, we can do that.
Was it at an event, or was it just out of the blue?
It was out of the blue, like an email. They had gotten our contact info. She had gotten our contact info from her boyfriend, who was a musician, who we did gig posters for.
Nice. Who would ever link the two, right?
I know. So that had been months before, and his girlfriend emailed us asking if we made these books, if we could make these books, and we said yes. So about a week later, she emailed us again. She's like, okay, I want to hire you. I work for Michelle Obama. She's having an event for high school students, and we need 100 workbooks for them.
How did you react when she said, this is for Michelle Obama?
we were in shock. We said, for real? Like, yes. We want to use, like, small businesses, local small businesses, and you're women-owned. So this is just an amazing fit if we can work it out. So we said, yes, of course we can. But doing anything with the government there's so much red tape.
I bet.
All the approvals that have to happen. It was a very tedious process, actually. And we didn't even get a go-ahead until maybe a week out from the event, which is a very short timeline for anything custom made.
That's a little stressful.
A little bit, yeah. There was a few like all-nighter situations, which we were happy to do. But
right. Yeah, exactly.
But it was stressful.
Did you get a chance to meet her?
We did. So we delivered the books. The event was a couple days after that. We didn't think anything of it. We were just happy that we got it done.
Right.
And the day before the event, we got an email from her saying there was room at the reception, and if we wanted to go, we could go. And she put us on the list. So we said yes. So another girl and I, we went. And it was really cool.
So what did she say when you met her?
Oh, she was in a receiving line.
Okay.
So we shook hands with her, got to say hi, and then the assistant, our contact, was next to her.
Oh, okay.
And she said, they're the company, the girls that made the books. So she knew that these women-owned company had made the books, but she didn't know it was us. So she said, she was shaking her hand. She said, oh, women-owned small business. Yay. Nice. Thank you. And we said, thank you.
Yeah, that is so exciting. It kind of shows you, like in DC, you just never know who you're going to meet, who has connections with somebody else. Speaking of connections and making them, we both went to the Corcoran, obviously. And we made a lot of connections there, and that's how you had said you had started the whole studio process. What was it like working with two other women within a studio?
That is a great question. It's hard. 3 people have 3 different minds, 3 different approaches to every thing that you're tackling, but you also have so much support.
Yeah.
It was an incredible way to start a business and to grow a business really fast. You pick up each other's slack. You get to know each other way more than you ever
Thought you
could.
see them more than you would see your spouse if you had a spouse, right?
Yes,
Or,
and the other two girls
else.
were married.
Uh-huh.
So it literally was that situation. It's everything.
Yeah.
It's good, it's bad.
Yeah.
It's, it's tough. You still got to work together
Mm-hmm.
when you disagree.
Yeah.
You got to figure out how to get through that.
I can imagine it's also really helpful, like if you want to learn a new skill, and one of the women, she wasn't a printer when she started here, and then you taught her that skill, and they're designers, and then they bring their knowledge and share that with you.
Exactly.
So you're all lifting each other up to make the best possible product.
Yeah, I think why we did so well is because we was hive mind.
Mm-hmm.
We all brought our strengths to the table, and they were all working towards making the business better.
Right.
Which is really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have that much design experience. They had worked at magazines and newspapers, designing for years together since high school.
Oh, wow.
So they knew each other's style and workflow, everything like that. I was a really good printer. I'm a very technical person. So I took over all the printing parts, the printing aspects, and taught one of the girls to print letterpress for the first time.
Oh, God.
And she became a great printer.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's definitely all of those things working together.
So what happens when, you've decided, okay, I've done this, I want to move on? I'm imagining that can be a very scary thing and a very tricky thing to manage and maneuver around.
It is. It definitely is. So about 3 years into the business, that's what happened. We had gotten to the point where we were obviously running a business. There was no other way to put around it.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a hobby. It wasn't just a side project or a side gig anymore. It could definitely be a full-time thing.
Right.
But it was also the point of, not the point of no return, but kind of the point of committing yourself for the foreseeable future. And how does that work? And how do you see yourself in that? And so I had always wanted a studio. I had come from the fine arts background. They had come from writing, editing, journalism, book backgrounds. And we worked really well together on this thing because it kind of encompasses everything. But it was definitely, we knew at least a little bit of what our future held now that we had done this for 3 years. And it's a full-time, beyond full-time. It's 24/7 small business running.
Exactly.
You wear every hat every day, all day. When you're here or when you're not here.
Mm-hmm.
So if that was something you could deal with or wanted to jump into, then you could. And if not, that was a time to kind of decide that this wasn't for you anymore. It's really hard because it's your baby. That's literally what it is. You built it from the ground up, and to make a choice to walk away is really, really hard. So I was happy and grateful, and I'm not saying it wasn't hard, but that on the other side of it, I can still call them my friends.
Yes.
And that we still love and respect each other and are proud of what we did together and still support each other.
Yeah.
So I'm happy and grateful and lucky that I get to keep it going.
When you landed that first job and that first client, what was that experience like?
Oh, it was so nerve-wracking. I historically was always in the background of things, and especially at the beginning of the business, I wouldn't really talk to clients that much because I didn't have any experience doing that. And the two other girls had come from that world. So I kind of let them do that while I did all the technical stuff, which is what I like to do more. But landing that first client wasn't a friend. That wasn't somebody that we already knew. I think that's important.
Yes, very important.
That's kind of different, right? Your mom has you make something.
I love you, Mom.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah.
By the way, my mom still has me make things for her.
Yeah.
You want to say yes. First of all, you want to say yes to whatever they say, which is a double-edged sword. Totally. With that first job, you just want to deliver, and you are trying to sell them on something that, for the most part, we had only made as things for ourselves, which is really scary. Especially letterpress, it's a physical thing. It's they can examine it everything's there, just like any job, but
Yeah.
it's a thing you're handing over. It's precious. I had really not experienced that myself before that. So
since that time, you've gone on to talk to many different clients.
Yes.
And sell things. So what have you learned from your experiences?
How to manage expectations. I think that's really super important in any field, especially in a creative field where you're creating something for somebody.
Right.
They're hiring you to do your thing. So make sure they understand, for me, it's so important what that thing is.
Yes.
Like I do a lot of explanation about what Letterpress is. I've tried to get them here into the studio to like actually show them what is happening and why I need XYZ type of file,
right.
or why this is possible but this isn't, trying hard not to have to say no,
right,
but giving a reason or giving a workaround, or I can't do this but I can do this, and that's why we're doing it Letterpress style. A lot of confidence in what you're doing. Like I said, I didn't have client experience before, and I'm naturally a very quiet person. So just talking in general was hard for me.
Yeah.
And now I can talk about my work, I can be on for work and then have my quiet alone time if I have to later,
Right.
But I figured out how to make it work for me, which was really important. Otherwise, I just couldn't run my business, no matter what. If I'm making cool stuff, if I can't talk about it to people or explain to them why they should go with me, I can't get that far.
Right, exactly. And it's about building up that confidence.
Oh, yeah,
and
totally.
Really, and going out there and doing it over and over and over again until you feel really good about how you're delivering.
Exactly. And learning like how it works for you and what you need to do to get your point across and to get the product across and still feel comfortable like doing that.
A lot of creatives in our industry often feel imposter syndrome, where they just feel like they're, I'm not the one to do this. Who am I? I'm not good enough for this. How do you conquer that feeling? And do you suffer from it? I know I do.
Yes, of course. I suffer from it. I think everyone does. It's a universal feeling, anyone I've talked to. I think it's definitely important to remember that people are coming to you for a job, because they like how you do your craft, how you design, and they want you to make something for them. So kind of like a confidence booster.
Yes, definitely.
Which everybody needs all the time. I always feel like an artist that knows how to design instead of a designer who knows how to print, because I came from the fine art side and kind of am self-taught designer now.
Right.
So I'm always struggling with this workaround of, well, how do I get artwork into here, or is this too designy? Is it not artwork enough? Or how to work with that. But just having to accept that it's all good. Like they work together. That's what makes my work unique. So letting that happen. Keep making stuff. That's really important. Because a lot of people get stuck in thinking that they're not good enough to do something. Right. Or that their style isn't what somebody needs. And maybe that client doesn't need it, but maybe somebody else will be really into that, So
exactly.
You got to keep making stuff. And I think for artists and creatives too, a lot of our joy comes from making things. So at least for me, if I stop making something, then I'm sad. It makes me sad because I'm not making things. And so it's like cyclical, And then I'm sad and I don't want to make things, I just don't feel like doing it today. And you kind of have to get up out of that sometimes. And it's hard and it takes time, and everybody's completely different with how that works. But for me, I at least like to remember that if I'm not making something, I'm not going to feel good, however small, however insignificant, doodles, whatever, all that kind of stuff. I've done it forever and I need to keep doing it because that's part of my self-care.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What would you recommend for a person who's going out there for the first time to talk to a client?
Definitely be prepared. Because half the battle is being put on the spot, being asked the question that you don't have an answer to. And sure, it can happen that there will be questions that you don't have answers to. You could have never predicted they would ask that. Yeah. But as a person who's selling your work, you should know your work. You should know at least a little bit about the client,
Mm-hmm.
so you can anticipate what they're going to want to talk about, and speak to your knowledge of your craft.
Right.
You should definitely not be empty-handed when you're talking to a client.
For somebody who wants to get involved in this, what would you suggest that they do?
I would suggest finding a community of printers, because that's really where all the knowledge is, first of all. There's nothing like learning from somebody else.
Yeah.
And if you can't get your own press at this time, then you can usually find somebody who will let you work on theirs, or go to a community print shop and learn there, rent time there.
Right.
Yeah.
But
it's basically knowledge. Knowledge is key to everything.
Yes, definitely.
You have to learn how to letterpress before you can do anything, and that takes time and practice.
Yep. But they could come here first and try a workshop, right?
Yes. Of course they can. Yes. We teach. I'm one of those places that teaches.
Come to her.
Yes. I have monthly workshops where we do basic like intro to letterpress classes, where we set poster designs, or we carve lino cut blocks for
that's super
cards
cool.
and prints. Yeah.
Do you have to know how to draw to do that?
No. You just have to be patient.
Okay.
If you are not confident in your drawing skills, that's fine. But you have to give yourself some grace to draw something that you want to do that day.
Right, right.
Because it's half drawing, but it's half carving. So it's not like if you feel like you can't draw anything, you're not going to get a product at the end of the workshop.
Okay.
No, we're always going to get something.
Typecase Industries has evolved a lot since its beginnings on O Street. Could you tell us where you would like to take it in the future?
Yeah, so I would like to be a bigger wholesaling company. So meaning that I make products that I sell out to stores and that are resold. So that would generate some passive income.
Yeah, definitely.
More passive income. Most of my time now is spent on custom designing.
Right.
So, which I understand and I like, but it would be nice to also make products that are kind of selling themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what type of products would those be?
So greeting cards, wrapping paper, coasters, postcards, paper goods. Yeah.
I remember one year when we went to the Crafty Bastards Festival at the stadium, and you had the Jon Snow cards. It's like, I was just like, I need to have this in my life. Do you have a favorite one, or do you have...
So I have these new cards that I really love that are in Spanglish.
Oh!
So I'm really interested in making products, obviously, that nobody has seen before. Everybody wants to make products no one has seen before. But I'm really interested in also reaching an audience like me that is Hispanic and likes paper goods.
Yeah, definitely.
And I speak Spanglish. That's just the reality. I grew up speaking Spanish at home and English outside and Spanglish everywhere else. And a lot of friends that are like exactly like me. And Spanish is so pervasive in America.
Yeah.
It's not like cards that nobody would understand either.
Right.
So I've started like testing them out on friends and stuff, and did a little run over the holidays just to see how they did, and they did well. So that's kind of really inspiring and just exciting.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me and all of you people out there. So if people want to know more about you or learn more about you, where can they go to find you?
They can go to the website, which is typecaseindustries.com, or they can go on Instagram, because mostly that is where I'm sharing things. So it's a handle at typecaseind.
Awesome. And I will put all those links below. And thanks much, and we will see you all later. Bye!